Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another blessed Shabbat. This will be part 3 of called Living Amongst the Beast. Right? Now, as you know, we've already went over part 1, the exhortation of Christ. This is part 2, or part B. Whom do you serve? The servants of Satan. Right? Whom do you serve? Right? Really quickly, we spoke about scriptures of choosing sides, lukewarm, hot and cold, understanding the times that we're in, the days of Noah, the days of Lot. Okay. And we understand that through the scriptures, this was an attack on families. The days of Noah was 8 members of a family. The days of Lot was a family. Abraham, Sarah, Lot, his wife, his daughters, their daughters who stayed back in Sodom and Gomorrah. This was an attack on family, okay? Not so much on the physical, but on the spiritual level, okay? Because mind you, Noah and his family were protected from any physical harm. Lot was protected from any physical harm, okay? But this was a spiritual attack, all right? So we touched first on the children of the Most High, the children of God, okay? What it is to be a structured family, your head, which is the husband, the pillar, which is the wife, the foundation of that family, which means the children. Now, yes, we understand Christ is our foundation. However, please take heed that Christ and the Most High love children like no other. All right. He did say, who offends a child is what? Tie a millstone around their neck. Yes. And this is another sin that would get you in deep trouble. Not just what? Not only is the number one sin blaspheming the Holy Spirit, but it's also coming against children. Anything that had to do something with defiling the youth of children or discouraging children to follow the Most High. So if you notice, the times of Noah, they were what? It got down all the way until the splicing. It got all the way down into the Nephilim creation and intermingling the genes. Today we would call that gene therapy. Okay. We see in the times of Lot, yes, a lot of people just think it was having a good time. It was about partying. Those things are true. But what made Sodom and Gomorrah what it was? The unnatural affection. Okay. And when people think of unnatural affection, brothers and sisters, they always think of a man with a man and a woman with a woman. But we're talking about the basic things of what Leviticus said not to do. A spouse with the mother and the daughter. We're talking about bestiality, people having relationships with animals. Okay. We're talking about people having relationships with children, which we call today pedophilia. Okay. So it's not just the LGBT, alphabet community. It is everything that was mentioned in Leviticus of what should not be done. That is unnatural affection. Understand? Okay. The foundation. Notice how when we read in these scriptures, if you go back into the lesson, you would notice that a man in his household and a woman in her household is known by their children. We read scriptures that Those who have broken homes, children are their oppressors. They always have to worry about children giving them a bad name, children, doing things that would bring shame to the family. Okay, so the foundation outside of Christ, just in the lower level area of our homes, would be, of course, a good man. And then the children would tell you how good the father is. Okay. For a plain example, if you're in Babylon or known as America, take a look at how many families struggle without a father. And we're not talking about just a father as a presence, because as much as women and people would like to say that men are dirt bags, it doesn't matter if you are a father in there. It matters. It matters only if you're a father in Christ, because you can be a father and your children still turn out ways of unnatural affection. They can still do unnatural things. They can still go and fall deep into the hole of sin, right? Or deep into the hole of the flesh. So it matters about the head being in Christ. That's all that matters. All right. And then we touch on the last part of family ties as servants. Servants, and a lot of people don't think that people should have servants. This is not talking about a slave, even though if you go into the concordance, it may say slave. These would more be like, and I don't even want to say indentured servants, but it would be people who would be living with these families, serving the Most High, and still being treated the same way as the family, just with a lesser title, helping the children, helping the wife. If it's a male servant, be helping the man of the home, just like Abraham had servants. All right. So we went into that breakdown of what family is and how family could be known by the Most High. Without further ado, this is the second part of that. Whom do you serve? The children of the devil. Okay. Uh, this is, I want to say something. This is a very um, faint, so to speak, a very kind of dry kind of explanation of the children of the devil. Of course, we can go into the pseudographia. Of course, we can go into different texts like Jasher, the book of Jasher, and so forth and so forth. But I just wanted to give a good explanation as to the children of the devil and their examples in the Holy Bible. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin. Children of the devil. This is called of their father. Of their father. Okay. So I'm going to make the screen small. It's called of their father. Split the screen for us. All right, we're going to start at First John. First John chapter 3. Now I know we've went over this, but just to bring it out again one more time. First John chapter 3, verse 8 through 10, it says, He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of God doeth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of God. In this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. So, this one was titled Of Their Father. Okay, so here we can see, brothers and sisters, there's only two clear sides to serve. There's only two clear sides to serve. You're either serving the Most High or you're serving Satan. You're either going to do righteous things or you're going to do evil things. You're either going to be in the spirit or you're going to be in the flesh. There's only two sides to this story. All right, two sides to the story, two sides to every action. You got to choose. This is what it is. Okay, so really quick run through here. He that committeth sin. I always like to break this down because regardless of those who may be in the truth or those who may be new to the truth, they still need to understand, because a lot of people read this and think that, oh, well, if I have committed sin, then I am of the devil. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are of the devil if you commit a sin and feel remorseful. Okay, we must always understand that every single human being, okay, who is over the age of accountability has had some issue with some type of flesh. Now, let's make this clear as well. A lot of times when people think of the word flesh, they think of fornication and adultery. It's not what I'm referring to. Flesh just means anything that's contrary to the Holy Spirit. Okay? It could be drinking, it could be gambling, it could be backbiting, it could be gossiping, it could be talking when you shouldn't. It could be a lack of discernment. It could be bad decisions. Okay. Anything that is against the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, and Christ and the Most High is flesh, and that is sin. Okay. So he that committeth, understand when it says he that committeth, it means here in the concordance to make or do. I love the breakdown of the words, because if you take a look at this word, agree, right? Do understand that every sin comes with your consent. You must consent to sinning. Like you must consent to buying alcohol. You must consent to look at a woman or look at a man in a certain way. You must consent. You must agree to it, right? So to understand what side you are on, you have to first understand what two sides there are, and then you have to agree to the terms. Okay. On the side of the devil is to agree to sin, is to agree to hate correction, is to agree to hate your brother, is to agree to commit as much sin as you wish, as long as it makes what? What's the term? As long as it makes you feel good. Okay. As far as agreeing with the Most High, you must agree to what? Live and walk in the Spirit. Okay. Understand? Two different things, okay? And that, in agreeing, you notice, right? One side, the Most High side, is in order to agree with the Holy Spirit, Christ, and the Most High, you have to read to show thyself approved, right? The study. 2 Timothy 2 and 15. Now, when it comes to sin and you're agreeing to sin, do you notice that there's no rules to commit sin? It's do as thou wilt. Do as you wish. Do what makes you feel happy. So you have to understand also the children of the devil are individuals who have lack of self-control. Oh boy. They lack self-control because when you're in the spirit, you're what? You have the fruits of the spirit, which means what? Temperance, self-control. That means, wait a second, if I know something is wrong, let me hold my tongue. Let me hold my tongue. Eh, But for those who are within the devil and agree with him, they're not going to hold their tongue, are they? They're going to say as they wish. I like to give an example. This week, I was in the store and I was feeling a little aggravated. I don't know what was wrong. I was just feeling irritated. I didn't feel so good. And then uh, a spirit was saying, to try and be frustrated with things in the store. And I decided, I'm walking with my wife. We're in the store, and she would ask me questions, and I decided to speak no more. Why did I do that? Because I felt the flesh trying to attack the spirit. That's what I felt. I felt that the evil spirit, the influence was wanting me to engage in an altercation. So I kept my mouth shut. I said nothing. And you see, that's a part of the spirit. An individual, now, how many times do couples go into a store? They may see something, maybe will disagree on something, then they leave out the store all angry, right? Oh, I wanted to do this. There's no self control. But as self control, I let it go. Just say, you know what? I'm going to go home and rest and pray because I wasn't feeling well, you know, and I just felt something bad within the day. Okay. But that's self-control. Those who commit sin have no self-control. All right. Now it says, let me finish this part. For this purpose, the Son of God was manifested that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of God doeth not commit sin. So that means agree to committing sin. Okay. It says, for his seed remaineth in him. So do understand when you're talking about that seed, what is the seed? It's the sower seed. Okay. Mark chapter 4. There's four individuals, one seed, one foundation is only good. The other three crumble. Right? So what this means is, whosoever is born of God doeth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him. So individuals, when they go and they have a bad day, they're of the Most High, what's going to happen? They're going to remember what's implanted in them. They're going to remember the fruits of the Spirit, which is the seed, right? The seed blossoms into a fruit, right? They're going to remember the seed that was planted in them by Christ to produce those fruits of the Holy Spirit. So they're not going to sin because they have self control, they have joy, they have peace, They have happiness, okay, with things that please the Most High. Notice how the children of God tend to what? Seek to think about, or what the Bible says, ponder on the things that the Most High would disapprove and approve of. The children of the devil do not worry about what anyone thinks, and therefore they indulge in the flesh, right? So, two different distinctions. All right. Verse 10, and this the children of God are manifest in the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. I tell you something, brothers and sisters. This one is a big one. Okay. Whosoever doeth not righteousness. Does this mean that when we make mistakes, we're not righteous? No. I'm going to give examples of, for example, you could look at David. David was a very highly esteemed man of the Most High, a leader, a king, father, okay? And yet he made numerous mistakes, okay? Yet he committed adultery. He, in his eyes, with his flesh, he had someone murdered to be with the woman, Bathsheba, okay? He still righted his wrongs and apologized to the Most High. And his apology came with better actions to wipe away the faults. Now, mind you, let me make this clear. His actions wiped away his faults in the eyes of the Most High. Okay, in the eyes of the Most High. Okay, this doesn't mean if you go sin, you can go do five other things, and just because you think that's good enough for the sin that you've done, that you can get away with something. Most High says, I give mercy unto I give mercy to, right? He says, I justify it, right? The Most High is the one who justifies. So here today, you would see if David was alive and did the same actions, people would say, why would I follow you? Look at you. Look who you are, right? Because you people are so busy wanting to be justified by others when the Most High is the one who justifies the being. Okay, and you can tell, and and this is not for people to be thinking, oh, I'm prideful or I'm better than others. The Most High's actions in your life, or at that specific time after the sin committed, He will show you what He views of you. Okay, this is not to think that anyone is greater than anyone else, but this is to be humble and to change the ways, okay, into being righteous. All right. So whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God. This is referring to do as an actual commitment. Okay, let's pull this word up. Excuse me. Okay, so same thing as do. I'm looking at the word perform, commit. So commitment. Righteousness is a commitment. Every day you wake up, you're going to commit to the righteousness. Every day you wake up, you should be saying, I'm going to commit to the Spirit, right? Now, those whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God. So, on the contrary, brothers and sisters, you're, like I said before, there's only two sides to commit to. Okay. So the children of the devil would commit not to righteousness. Okay. The children of the devil would commit to unrighteousness. The children of the devil would commit to the flesh. Okay. And the children of the Most High would commit to the Spirit. All right. It says, comma, neither he that loveth not his brother. And I'm sitting here telling you this. This is such a strong word to this day. Why do I say this? Because love has been thrashed in all the worst ways, and now people think of it as unnatural. Oh, this is sad. Love used to be loving a person of the opposite nature, okay? But now, because so much sin has abound, it's love for unnatural affection, it's love for gain, there's love for money, there's love for pride, there's love for self recognition, there's love for praise. All the love out there exists rather than for the brother, meaning the neighbor. Okay. And so, what does this mean? Neither he that loveth not his brother. Now, loving someone, I want you to think about it. When you love someone, you love, you think about your personal family. It could be a spouse, it could be a father, a mother, it could be a brother, a sister, it could be a cousin, aunt, uncle, whomever. So one person in your family that you love the most, and you're supposed to replicate that love to the others. Okay. So if you would have mercy on for example, your sister, when you see a stranger, are you replicating that same love as if it's that same person? Are you getting frustrated? Are you getting angered? Are you trying to de escalate problems with a loud voice? Or are you trying to de escalate them with a soft answer? Because with your brother, whom you love, you would talk to them in peace, wouldn't you? But with a stranger, a lot of people do what? They yell, they curse, they get angry, they get frustrated, right? This is not the love Christ was talking about. Okay, so it's important to understand that these are ways that the children of the devil can be easily spotted, easily frustrated, easily angered. Simple. It's simple. I sometimes go to a gym just as a personal testimony. I see sodomites there. In my mind, I say, Most High, what's wrong with these men? And then I changed my mind and I started thinking, you know what? It's because someone hasn't taught you truly of the Most High is the way you are. Even for lustful women, or it could be out there for women, lustful men. At this point in time, I believe it's more lustful women and sodomites than anything because there's a lack of men, straight men. But if it's the case for you, start thinking what in their life was different from you that you came to this path and maybe someone showed mercy upon you to bear with you in your error. Maybe the Most High showed mercy upon you to bear in your error. So Even, hey, I'm gonna sit there and tell you right now, brothers and sisters, it love is not easy. Everyone knows this. Love is not easy because love comes with trust. Okay, it's the biggest two words in the entire world: trust and love. Okay, but look how much love and trust Christ had for Judas. Yet he already knew. Look how much love Abraham had for the Sodomites. He prayed and asked the Most High to stall the judgment to see if anyone could be saved before he judged it. Right? This is how much love we're supposed to have for others. Okay? The children of the devil, frustrated, hate, despise. Okay? Yeah, guess what? I despise the sin. No doubt. No doubt. We hate sin. It tells us in the Bible. Love good and hate evil. When does that become a point in this scripture? You cannot love the children of the devil who willingly want to commit to sin, who willingly will mock the Most High. For example, those gay pride parades. Some of them be having signs, oh, I can't wait to burn in hell. And, if hell is fire, then I'm already flashing the fire, all kinds of stuff. You cannot help those individuals who are stuck, who are blinded, who are in delusions of sin because they agree to it. Okay. And so the difference between those individuals is what? There are some individuals out there who are truly confused, and there are some individuals out there who saying, I'm just going to make it my mission to corrupt everything that's pure. Those individuals we stay away from. All right? Because they don't want righteousness. Their love is not loving someone in righteousness. Their love is for their unnatural desire. Understand that people who are in strong confusion, they need the love of Christ. They need the love of a brother or sister to say, I don't know what it is that you went through, but I'm here to listen to you so that you don't perish in the fire. Right? And so this is the difference between us as the children of the Most High and others as the children of the devil. Moving forward, Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 to 21. And I read, Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lavishness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulation, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murderers, drunkenness, revelings, and such like, of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Okay. Now, if you look at all these things, brothers and sisters, I want you to pay close attention. Every single one of these things that people are doing in the flesh, and just specifically these things, they all say self. They commit adultery because of themselves. They seek to commit fornication because of themselves. They prefer to be unclean because of themselves. They prefer to have gain with money, which is lasciviousness, because of themselves. Their greedy pride, right? Their greediness. Idolatry. They want to worship what they want to worship. Witchcraft. Think about this, right? When you talk to a witch or someone who is a Satanist, what do they tell you they want to do it for? They say, because I want a better life, because I don't want to live in rules. I want to, you know, venture out and see the spiritual and see what's going on in this world. I want to do it for myself. It's not for anyone else. Notice all these things is for self. Hatred. They hate others because they don't like themselves. Variance. Variance means being at a disagreement with another person. It's because it's all for themselves. Okay? And so forth and so forth. All these things. You even have seditions and heresies. People wanting to start coups of different things against churches or governments or different things or whatever the case is. All these things are based off of one person having an ideology and even spreading their web to others, right? It all starts with what? And what connects all of them? Self-interest. Because, brothers and sisters, when you're a child of the Most High, there are no self-interest. There's only one interest. It's the Most High. There's only one interest. It's the Most High. So look at this, right? All these things are based off of what? Self-isolation. Self-isolation. All right? I'm not going to get into it too much, but this is the point where Christ was saying, invite sinners amongst you, because idle time is the devil's time. And if the sinners are being devoured by Christ when they're alone, bring them amongst people who are going in the right direction. Right? You follow me? Because if they're alone, they can't fight the flesh alone. Can they? They would need stronger brothers and sisters to help them. Hey, because what happens out of boredom? We start buying things out of boredom. I don't care if you're a man or a woman, you buy things. If an alcoholic's bored, they're going to go to the store and buy alcohol, right? If someone who's trying to kick a smoking habit and they're stressed, what are they going to do? They're going to go and buy a pack of cigarettes, right? But if I'm amongst those righteous brothers who are striving for the interests of the Most High, they're going to what? Deter me from following the flesh and walk in the spirit, right? So these are identifiers, brothers and sisters. Self-isolation means they will fall to the flesh. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you this, right? When you look into the book of Corinthians and it talks about the churches and the structure, some people are apostles, some people are prophets, some people are teachers, so forth and so forth, right? The strongest individuals, teachers, apostles, prophets, they're the only ones who can be in isolation. I'm going to let you know this. Everyone is not an apostle. Everyone is not a teacher. Everyone is not a prophet. Okay. And so for these individuals, because for example, apostles and prophets and teachers, they were meant to go out in different places to the people, right? They're the only ones who could be alone. For everyone else, they had to be amongst other brothers and sisters to encourage them in righteousness. Because not everyone is meant to be isolated and go out and do things. Yeah, look at the apostles. The apostles didn't carry churches with them. They were 1 to 2 people at a time in different villages. The isolation is of the devil unless you are in a leadership position directly from Christ. Sit there and say it. Simple. And so the works of the flesh, brothers and sisters, come when you one don't have that spiritual armor. And if a sinner is so much in the flesh, but they're trying eagerly and they don't know what to do, they need to be amongst other brothers and sisters who have the spiritual armor so that they can protect them and be with them in their times of trouble so that they can encourage them to steer away from the flesh. As now, let's bring it back to the flesh and to the children of the devil. They'll tell you, do what makes you happy. Isn't that right? Do what makes you happy. Hey, no one understands what you've been through. You've been through a lot. Treat yourself, right? And let me sit there and say that to someone who's really struggling. And then from those words of encouragement, those words of false encouragement, that person spiral out of control, right? You see how this goes? Romans chapter 8. Romans chapter 8, 5 through 8. And I read, for they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh, but they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God. For it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. So, the flesh, brothers and sisters, we saw the things of the flesh. Simple. To be in the flesh, they do mind the things of the flesh. And this is why it's important. You can always understand a child of the Most High from a child of the devil. Just hear them speak. Shut your mouth and just listen to them speak. If we speak for 30 minutes and I don't hear nothing about the Most High, I know what your conversations are about. I know what you do mind, right? If you talk to someone for 10, 15 minutes and they don't mention nothing about Christ or nothing about the Most High or the Bible, that's a red alert, okay? Because those that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. And you gotta feel bad for these individuals. You really do, because their mental capacity hasn't reached the next level of life, which is the spiritual. Yeah, it's another level, brothers and sisters. Because look, verse 6 says to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. So that means you mean to tell me you only live once, therefore I'm going to, at the end of that YOLO, you only live once is death, right? So to be carnally minded is you only live once, is death. But to be spiritually minded and say, I live for the Most High, and what comes after this is even greater than what we think here. That's life and peace. See, brothers, sisters, just in the very terms that people talk about today, you can find if death is at the end of it, it's carnal. If life and peace, we're talking eternal, is at the end of it, it's spiritual. And I'm not even talking about, you know, living in California or New York City or Miami. I'm not even talking about, you know, going to Maldives or living in Dubai or visiting. That at the end of that, you can still die. You're still going to die. How many people during this whole COVID stuff for the past 2.5 years, how many people have built up their life just to meet their greatest adversary, death, right? They've built up their life just to meet the greatest adversary, which is death. And now they never enjoyed anything peaceful. What they thought on earth was peaceful, but now they have to pay eternally. So living in the spiritual mind is life. Why? Because you sit there and say, I'm going through this for something. There's a reason. There's a reason why evil spirits keep attacking. There's a reason why I shouldn't think it's strange that this is happening all of a sudden, right? There's a reason. Have you ever heard of the devil? Have you ever heard of the devil's self-interest? The devil's self-interest was to leave the Most High. But here we go. And you show you this is the greatest sin of flesh, self-interest. That's why the flesh is self-interest. Right? Watch this. So the devil had his own self-interest to leave the Most High. Do you ever notice how those who have bad self-interest always got to reach out to others to do the work with them? Do you notice that? Let's talk about gangs, talk about fraternities, right? They always have to string out and reach out to others to commit their self-interest. And it comes with a false sense of hope, but really it brings them down. Think about it. Think about it. Okay. When Satan, you got to understand, Satan had his self-interest in heaven. He told some of the angels and deceived the others into following him. And why do I say he deceived some angels? Do you not realize in the book of Enoch it says that some of the angels asked for repentance to Enoch because he was so righteous to tell the Most High that he was sorry? So that means Satan deceived even the angels into supporting his self-interest. But had they and I understand the spirits, the it says, let the things of the spirit mind things of the spirit, and the things of the flesh mind things of the flesh. So you got to understand that Satan had already turned his mind gone away from the Most High. That's why he was carnally minded. The other angels were not. So they weren't understanding and comprehending that to think the way that Satan was thinking had something treacherous at the end of it called death and torment. Okay? It's crazy. Pay attention to those self-interests, right? I don't have no self-interest but to save people into the kingdom. To pray and ask the Most High, how can we reach out to people? How can we convince people that this is the end? And before they make some of the worst decisions in their life, rethink it. Just pray. Just pray. Just ask for forgiveness and just say, is what you're doing worth it? Because how many things come with death, brothers and sisters? Think about it. I'm gonna give you an example. It says here, verse 6, for to be carnally minded is death. So now let's put in things of the flesh. For to be carnally minded is adultery. To be carnally minded is fornication. To be carnally minded is variance, right? So then all those things equal what? Death. You see that? Because if someone commits adultery, what happens? People kill over their spouses, right? People kill their spouse and the person they committed adultery with. That's a death. Fornication brings multiple diseases. People get sick and die early. Murder is death. Envying. People will stress themselves out about competing with others. That brings death, sorrow, always competing with other people. All these things steer you away from peace and only bring a shorter life and to sorrow and death. All right, verse 7, because the carnal minded is enmity. The carnal mind is enmity. Reason for opposition, hostility. The carnal mind is hostility against God. Oh boy, hold on. Hold on now. Now remember that curse that went back in the day with Genesis 3 and 15? And I will put enmity between thee and the woman. That means Satan would always hate women, right? In between thy seed and her seed. So means the children of the devil would always be against the children of the Most High. Oh boy, you not get this was a deeper. So to be carnally minded is to have enmity against the Most High, hostility. And so the Most High put hostility between Satan and the woman because Satan was carnal minded towards who? The woman, right? So therefore, and we speed this up in today's terms, let me be so at odds with the women Here I am. I'm thinking I'm speaking as if these thoughts would come from Satan. I'm so at odds with women today that I'm going to give them everything contrary to what God said. Does that not sound like a war plan? That sounds like a battle plan. That sounds like a strategy. Let me get them careless. Let me get them focused on makeup. Let me get them focused on material things. Let me get them focused on Satan. Why? Because Satan was the father of music. He was covered in jewels. Notice how notice how back in the day the opening of a woman's soul was to some good music, right? She just start feeling good and reminiscing about the past, right? Satan knew what he was doing. It was enmity. He wasn't doing it because he loved the woman. He did it because he was hostile. He wanted to see the woman fall. Look at today, right? A shame, and in the book of Ecclesiasticus, it says, "A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog." You got all these females. Back in the day, they were talking about the men should be taking care of their families, and now they're twerking everywhere. They're shaking their behind, wearing no clothes everywhere. You can't even go to a gym, and it's like the women wear their bedroom clothing at the gym or on the beach. I mean, and even brothers and sisters and further sisters, because I'm a firm advocate that sisters should be correcting sisters. Okay, even men, we have the ability to, but when it comes to certain things, I feel I'm strong advocate that females should be correcting other females. For example, let's take a bikini. All right, what's the difference between a bikini on a beach and a woman's undergarments? There is no difference. So why should it be worn at one point and not worn at another? But you see, they've been making the correlation. And now today, because sin has abounded, it's like, hey, well, if I wear this, I can wear that. And if they accept it at the beach, then they can accept me walking down the street like this. And if they accept it in a club, a fornication, this is what they like. So I might as well wear it in the stores. I might as well wear it at the gym. Yes, yes. Men, we need to correct those who come to us in righteousness, and women, you gotta correct the women who come to you in righteousness as well. And when I say when they come in righteousness, I'm referring to sinners who have no clue about the Most High. They need help too, because Christ didn't come to save the peaceful. He came to save those who are in error, right? You see what I'm talking about? So now Satan knew that the Most High had the scripture, a shameless woman should be counted as a dog, but can't even cover up their body. The only time they cover up their body is in makeup and and different hair extensions and colorings. Don't want anything natural. That's unnatural affection too, to make up an image that's not yours. That's hostility. That's carnal. Okay. So these are children of the devil. All carnal. All carnal. They mind the things of the flesh. Verse 7, because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. So then they that are in the flesh cannot please God. Why can they not please God? Because they're not thinking about the law of righteousness. Simple. The law of God is the law of righteousness. And what does it all start with? Love. What's the first commandment? Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. That we should love the Most High with all our heart, mind, body, and soul. That's the first commandment. The second greatest commandment is love your neighbor as yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself and do to your neighbor as you would want them to do to you. I want you to think about this real quick, brothers and sisters who listen to my lesson. And even if this is your first time listening, I want you to think about this. If you were in error, how would you want someone to approach you? If your life was in shambles, what signals would you send to someone to say, I need help? I need direction. Because do hurt people just come out there and say, help me? No, they don't. They're looking for people to be interested in them, right? They're looking for people to dive into them and take interest, right? So therefore what? Self-interest leads to flesh. Interest of the Most High leads to us. How can I help you? Right? Self-interest leads to me, 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 me. Interest of the Most High leads to how can I help you? I encourage you to think like that. Go ahead and try it for a week or two, and maybe in a month, maybe even a month. If you were a lost person, if you were a child of of the devil by default because of your upbringing, but you truly wanted to send out signals to people to say, I need help. I don't want to conform to this way, but this is the only way that I see. How would you help that person? What would you want someone to say to you to help you change? How would you lend a hand out to say, I know this world looks crazy, but I can show you something better than this? Do you understand, brothers and sisters, that when people say they found Christ, they're talking about they found life and peace? Even some people find life and peace in not being vaccinated. And you may say, how is that? They lost their jobs. It's life and peace that to know that I'm not waking up for 6 and 7 days of the week just to go to a job, just to get paid and pay bills again. That's called death. But these individuals, they find life and peace knowing that I have a purpose to wake up the next morning. I can use my salt to help save someone's life. I could use my light to help shine darkness on someone's sorrow and pull them out and show them what peace really is. Because Satan offers peace through death. He offers peace through death, meaning if you do things in the flesh, it's peace to you if you are carnal. Getting money, money, money. It's peace. It's people's stability, but it still leads to death. Look at all the people who have money and their children don't even love them. It's death because when they're getting ready to die, no one cares about them. Change up the way, brothers and sisters, and watch you change others. Okay. Proverbs 22. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 8. And I read, He that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity, and the rod of his anger shall fail. I wanted to touch on this first part. He that soweth iniquity. So you understand, brothers and sisters, every action has a fruit. Christ said, know them by their fruits. A good tree cannot produce corrupt fruit or bad fruit, and a corrupt tree cannot produce good fruit. Every person, I don't care who you are, is sowing something. You either going to sow righteousness or you're going to sow iniquity. But do understand this: he that soweth iniquity shall reap vanity. Let's look at this word iniquity. Right? Iniquity, wickedness, perverseness, evil. Evil. Okay. Isn't and it's so funny, right? Don't they have and this is just something that just came in my mind. Isn't there like a woman's product called Olay? It means evil. Right? Only if people but notice, right? Notice how Olay is a product, right? That is all about self-image, right? And self-image equals vanity. Vanity. To pant, to exert oneself, usually in vain. That look at that. Specifically an idol. So it's pumping yourself up to become like an idol, to be idolized. Oh man. Vanity means emptiness. Look at that in Latin, of emptiness. So you painting yourself up, you makeuping yourself up, you're pampering yourself up, all to be empty inside. Men buy the jewelry, they get the grills, they get the earring, nice haircut, nice shoes, nice clothes, all to be empty inside. Women buy the make up to make up an image because they're empty inside. They change up their hair, they wear certain things to attract men to the outside image because there is nothing inside to offer. And this is children of the flesh because you have to see to love, right? And when you're in the flesh, you have to see an image to love it, right? But when you're in the spirit, you can, and watch this, right? Christ said, blessed is he who believes and has not seen, right? Didn't he say that? So it meant there was a greater spiritual goodness to actually not see things and believe it before you see something and be disappointed or like it. Which means what? And this goes for the same thing as sisters. I pray that this helps you, appreciate yourselves more. Because when you are covered up, when you are covered up, it says that there is something beautiful inside. Right? Think about it. We look at a butterfly fly in the spring, right? But before that butterfly showed its beauty, it was covered up in a cocoon, right? It was covered up. It was preserved until it's time to blossom into something beautiful. Therefore, the same thing should happen in the flesh. or excuse me, and with things of the flesh like marital actions and different things like that, or just dressing up, a man should be covered properly. A woman should be covered properly. And believe it or not, yes, we know each sex likes different things in the opposite sex. Like the women like the muscles and different things. The men may like the face or the hair and different things, right? And so certain things should be covered so it doesn't cause someone to only like you for what they see, right? Because you shouldn't like someone for what you see. You should like them for what's inside their heart. Because within the heart lies the treasure. So if, and watch this, right? If you just take Christ's doctrine and his ministry, it'll solve all your problems. If your heart has your treasure, right? And a man is only looking for you for the outside, that means he doesn't care about the treasure that you offer. That means he only cares about the flesh, and carnal minded is death. So that you mean to tell me that every woman, every sister, every brother has a treasure in their heart to offer someone else, right? I'm just saying, but hey, he that soweth sin and wickedness shall reap vanity, emptiness, emptiness. Look at this. Vanity, fruitless desire or endeavor, emptiness, untruth, empty pleasures, vain pursuit, idle, unsubstantial enjoyment, ostination, arrogance. See if I can also get the other. Look at, even in the regular dictionary, it says excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. That's what vanity is. Pride and admiration for your appearance and your achievements. So because all these individuals don't even love themselves, they want people to see what's on the outside. So brothers and sisters, they're the ones hurting. They're the ones hurting. You notice, right? And let's take it a step further with COVID. You notice how they're sowing evil, right? Which is the vaccine. But if you believe in the vaccine, you shall reap emptiness. I want you to listen to what I said. If you believe in it, you will sow and you will reap in emptiness. For example, people are taking it, right? Just to lose their job. They're still going to lose their job. Some people have already lost their job and they took it. Some people, it's the reports now saying that, hey, if you don't take 2 shots and 2 boosters, it's going to be as if you never took anything. You reaped emptiness. You reaped nothing. And so how many times are you going to get shot up to get a job? How many times are you going to take a vaccine to get a paycheck? What, are you going to have to do it twice a year for the next 10 years? That's 20 shots. So you telling me you done live 30, 40, 50 years and maybe took 5 shots and they want you to take double as much as what you've taken your entire life? Does that sound okay? No, it doesn't sound okay. because he that soweth in the flesh reaps emptiness. He that soweth in adultery, he that soweth in fornication, he that soweth in envy, it always comes back to what? Emptiness. They do something, and then at the end, it's like, why did I do it? What was the point? Galatians chapter 6. Galatians chapter 6, verse 8, or excuse me, verse 7 through 8. It says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. This is so important. Let's look at this word, mocked. It says, snout as that whence lowing proceeds from, to make mouths at, that is ridicule, mock. So that means, I want you to understand, that means to make the Most High's commands lesser than what they're supposed to be. To take his words for light, to ridicule, whatever. You know, whatever. Let's give you another. So let's look at the word mock. Tease or laugh at in a scornful or contemptuous manner. And you're contemptuous, meaning showing contempt, like despising, like, I'm not going to do that. To mimic someone or something scornfully or contemptuously also means not authentic or real, but without the intention to deceive. Meaning saying, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but you're not gonna do it at all. Meaning Most High is not to be mocked. You're not just going to sit there, even those things are not taken lightly. You say it, do it. Properly, to imitate, to mimic, hence to imitate, to contempt or derision. To deride, to laugh at, to ridicule, to treat with scorn and contempt. To defeat, to elude, to disappoint, to disappoint, to disappoint, to deceive, as to mock expectation. Look at that. To deceive as to mock expectation. So if the Most High if the Most High expects something from us, and you're deceiving others, that's mocking. If someone says, like for example, I told people those walls of Babylon will fall. I know some people don't believe me, but saying that they do, that's mocking the expectation of the Most High, because he said it would happen. He said the waters would come on this place as well, on Babylon. It'll happen. Just follow the Most High. It says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For what a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap everlasting life. Brothers and sisters, I want you to understand that all our actions are a part of sowing. So, for example, instead of picking up let's say, I'm just giving an example of food, right? Instead of picking up, a cheeseburger, maybe pick up a salad. That's one is sowing to the flesh and one is sowing to the spirit. Because one is going to help your temples and one is going to destroy it, right? Let's look at, on the contrary, music. Let's say if you still have some issues with music, if you download music of the flesh, you are going to get nothing out of it, right? It's not going to motivate you, right? Or if it does, it'll just motivate you for a time being. But if you motivate or sow and download spiritual music, listen to spiritual music. I don't mean bob your head. I mean listen to lyrics that is uplifting, that talks about our return to Christ and the Most High and the Holy Spirit. Then you are actually reaping in the Spirit because it's an action. So the Most High constructed a world where no matter what we do, we are sowing to one or the other. We are sowing to one or the other. And also, fun fact, some people may knew this, the hip hop and Africa Bambaataa, one of the pioneers supposedly to hip hop and rap music, and how he was training up kids and stuff like that to become the artist today. You know, I don't know if anyone's knew this, but he, African Bambaataa was raping children to be, artists. That's what we see today, and so that's why all the boys, the men got the tight pants and the nails painted, and you can't tell if they're straight or not because they will, when they go into these record labels and they're up there saying that, oh well, I'll do anything for this record label. Yeah, I don't want to make my family eat, and we're gonna have houses. It was raping children for contracts. So even I learned this just recently, and I was like, whoa. So you mean to tell me that? And now a lot of, and you see all these artists, right? They're doing drugs. It's because they've been raped. It's because they've been touched. They've been molested as children, and no one would dare to listen to them because of their appearance. Okay, because of their appearance. So even for those who may even listen to hip hop, guess what? Hip hop is strongly founded on pedophilia, unfortunately. It's all about isolating the boys and then having the boys look at girls while the heads of these companies, I mean, even you saw this with back in the day with Dr. Dre and Easy E. What happened? Easy E was taken by Dre and Suge Knight, and they abused him. Hey, this is what that is all about. This world, okay? With the flesh ends with what? Death. And when he finally went to speak out, they injected him and killed him and said he had AIDS, right? Well, I wonder why. You're hurting these kids. So when you sow to the flesh, you will reap the flesh. It's best, brothers and sisters, that we stay away from the flesh as best as possible. And if you can't, be amongst brothers and sisters who are in the spiritual armor. Okay, moving forward. So we know what the children of the devil, they always going to go back to the flesh. And this could be broken down, brothers and sisters, into something even greater, i.e., like, you know, if times are like with this vaccine, with times are in troublous times? Are they going to go and say, let me go pick up the Bible? Or are they going to say, let me go on Indeed and find a new job? Right? Because you can get a new job and the same thing is still going to come to the new job. Or am I going to be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove, and figure out what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to do it where I'm at until the time is that I have to go to another place? Some people, I seen the other day, people moving from Maine. I get it. People moving from Maine going to Texas. I get it. People moving from New Hampshire going to Texas. I get it. Everyone's coming to Texas. I wonder why. But you shouldn't just move because of a mandate. You should move with a purpose to follow Christ. Because what was the point if you're going to move from A to B and not search for the one who's supposed to save you? Because before we were born, before your parents, before your grandparents, this book was prophesied. The Bible was prophesied. So all the things that's happening was long before we were even thought to be an image, which means if you don't sow to the Spirit of Christ, to receive the Holy Spirit, you will reap corruption. You will reap death. Moving forward, John chapter 8. John chapter 8, verse 31. John chapter 8, verse 31 to 47. And I read, then said Yeshua, let me that for you. Then said Yeshua to those Jews which believed on him, if ye continue in my word, then ye are my disciples indeed. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Please listen to what that said. The truth shall make you free. The truth shall make you free. But that's only if you continue in Christ. No one likes to keep that part. If ye, it says if ye, because people had a decision. If ye continue in my word, then are ye my disciples indeed. And, and then if you are his disciples, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Understand, people are so much what? They're so much in a panic right now, right? And I understand. But had you followed Christ's words, you would have knew what to do so you could be free. So you wouldn't have to panic. And so we know what? The children of the devil, they're not in Christ's words. So, and they're not looking for truth. They're looking, so what's the opposite of truth? They're looking to conform to the world. They're not looking to be made free. I'm sorry to say this, they're looking to be made a slave of Satan. They're looking to just get by. They're looking just to say, I want things to go back to normal. No, no. And why? Who? There's no great, there's no worse person in this world right now than those who say, I just want things to go back to normal. Only a slave would say, I want things to go back to normal. Why? And I'm not talking about the slaves from Africa. I'm talking about the slaves of Babylon, of America. I'm talking about those kind of slaves. I'm talking about slaves who think there's nothing bad in this world until it happens to them. I'm talking about the slaves who think that human trafficking doesn't exist until their niece or their nephew has been taken. I'm talking about those people. They want things to go back to normal. I'm talking about people who lost their homes and who've lost their jobs and their savings because They had to spend every dime because they've lost everything. And then they take the vaccine and then nothing happens and they just want it to go back to normal. These people will never know the truth. They refuse the truth. The children of the devil will always refuse the truth to conform to what the devil calls normal. Because remember, this earth has been given to Satan. I point this out, brothers and sisters, all the time. If the devil came to Christ on the mountain and said, I will give you all the kingdoms, Satan couldn't offer something that is not his. Think about that. So everything in this world, on this earth, you got to do some compromising. The devil's going to ask for certain compromises. This is why the Most High said, don't conform. Because if he offered it to Christ, he would offer it to us. Think about this, right? How many people have doctor's degrees and lawyer's degrees and all kinds of degrees, right? And don't even know Christ. They can pick up every book and listen to every commentary and webinar, every TED talk on YouTube, and don't know nothing about a greater life. Because the children of the devil refuse to be free. They refuse to receive the truth. Verse 83, they answered him, we be Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. How sayest thou, ye shall be made free? Yeshua answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the house forever, but the Son abideth ever. And this was deep. See, Christ said, a servant, right? Servant was a slave. Let's look. Let's take a look. A servant. Look what it says, bond man, right? Also a slave. They would be a slave to sin. Think about this, right? So let's make the correlation between our brothers and sisters, Judah, African Americans being slaves, right? Is slavery nice? Oh, they get beat on. One time maybe the master would be like, all right, you did good, and then they beat you again, right? Just to deceive you because they think it's funny, right? What do you think this is in this world? And people then took the shot and then they say, good slave, good slave. Now, here's a check. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Take another vaccine. Good boy, good boy. Now take another, whip, which is your shot. I'm going to change some things, but you stick with me now, okay? You stick with me. All right, all right. Here's another shot. I'm going to take care of you. You're a good slave. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of all the unvaccinated people. I'm gonna make sure that you flourish, right? That's a slave. And remember, brothers and sisters, what did I share with you, right? I said, when you're in the flesh, it's all about self, right? So everyone is taking this vaccine for self. Do it for, and I promise you, Satan is the greatest deceiver because he's saying what? He's saying to the people, do it for your family, do it for your neighbors, right? Isn't it? Oh, don't they always say that now? Take the vaccine for your loved ones, for your neighbors, for your coworkers. Oh, why you wanna show love for a vaccine but nothing else? Why? Why aren't we showing love to the homeless? Why aren't we showing love to the widows or to the fatherless children? A vaccine ain't going to save a widow. A vaccine isn't going to save a fatherless child. It's not going to help no one. A vaccine is not going to help the elderly be strong. A vaccine isn't going to help the blind see or help the cold be clothed or the hungry fed. Vaccine's not going to do that. Oh, wait. You done threw in a happy burger, a happy meal, and a cheeseburger. That, that's not worth it. There's nothing worth your soul but a slave. You know what it says? Look at here. Qualified sense of subjection and subservience. Okay. To be and it's so funny, right? Satan know that women in the world hate the word subjection. They hate it. I'm not gonna be subject to no man. Hey, that's what they say, right? But you're still in subjection. Oh, you gonna get this, or you not black. You gonna get this, or I'm gonna take you home. What better, and this is what they're literally saying, what better in the world is it than this place? You don't want to be here? You don't want to accept these freedoms? You want to take this vaccine for me, for your brother, for your sister? That's subjection, but just in the wrong way. They're servants, they're slaves of sin, slaves of self, slaves of the flesh. Me. And it says, the servant abideth not in the house forever. So do understand, this is not the servant of Christ. This is the servant of the devil. But that's why Christ says the Son abideth forever. So unless you're under the Son, in the Son, which is Christ, you wouldn't live forever unless you're with Christ. Now, do understand this was a gem from Christ when he said, and the servant abideth not in the house forever. That means what? Satan would invite you. He would make you feel like you're a VIP. But at the end of the day, he'll kick you right out of his house. That's why I said the servant abideth not in the house forever. Because nothing is promised with Satan. He gonna use you and then leave. What did he do with Eve? He used her and then left. You notice how you didn't hear nothing about Satan after he deceived Eve. Did anyone notice? He deceived Eve, and Eve went off to convince Adam, and the serpent was gone. Right? If you want to look at it that way as well, the servant abideth not in the house forever. So if you follow sin, if you are a servant or a slave to sin, the house is the Garden of Eden. As long as you're a slave to sin, guess what? You're always going to be taken out the house. You see? Always abide in Christ. Verse 36. If the Son therefore shall make you free, ye shall be free indeed. I know that ye are Abraham's seed, but ye seek to kill me, because my word hath no place in you. I speak that which I have seen with my father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father. See that? Okay. Christ was like, hey, hmm. Verse 39. And they answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. Yeshua said unto them, if ye were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. Do now ye seek to kill me, a man that hath told you the truth, which I have heard of God? This did not Abraham. You do ye do the deeds of your father. Then said they to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one Father, even God. So let me explain this to you. This is a sad thing as well, especially in the Israelite community, right? As so many people get stuck on, you know, being in culture, and I get it, I do, because a lot of individuals have been robbed of, their nationalities, and it's completely understandable. But you see, the resting place for when you die is named after Abraham, called the bosom of Abraham. It's not called the bosom of Jacob. Neither is it called the bosom of Isaac. Though our forefathers and the prophets are completely righteous, don't get me wrong, it was named after Abraham. Why? Think about this. Abraham showed love. Abraham prayed for Sodomites. He prayed for Sodom and Gomorrah. He did the will of the Most High, even if it meant the hardest things, giving up family. He was not okay with tradition. He was okay with following the Most High. He was okay with correction. He was okay with learning. He was okay with teaching and being taught at the same time. As we know, Melchizedek came to Abraham. So, we know Abraham was not fond of tradition and customs, just following the Most High. And so, following Abraham would be good deeds. Deeds of Abraham, just as Yeshua said. So, do understand, Yeshua said, if you were of Abraham, we wouldn't be arguing. If you're of Abraham, we wouldn't be arguing. Because I too am of Abraham, right? Abraham was of my father, and I'm of my father. I'm here to save you. But it says what? You have your father. You do the deeds of your father. You do the deeds of your father. Verse 42. Yeshua said unto them, if God were your father, you would love me. For I proceed forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he that sent me. Oh, see that? Not of myself. Self, right? Even Christ mentioned self, right? Not of myself, but he sent me. What can I do for you? Right? That's what the Most High, I'm telling you, our Father is so merciful in heaven. What can I do for you that you can return back to me? That's how the Most High is. But it's not about self. It's about how can I save you so that you can come to the Most High, that you can live in life and peace. Verse 43. Why do you not understand my speech, even because ye cannot hear my word? Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And this is big. A lot of people don't understand this. He was a murderer from the beginning. Now, the first murder people are going to think of is Cain and Abel. No, That's not what it's referring to. I want you let's look at the word murder. Okay. Murder means to kill. Okay. Everyone can see that. Murder means to kill. Kill means to deprive of life. So he killed Adam and Eve's opportunity for eternal life. He was a murderer from the beginning. He murdered eternal peace. He murdered the idea that we would be able to live forever in harmony. He murdered it. Hmm, come on now. Murder means to kill, to deprive of life. He was a killer, a murderer from the beginning. And look what it says, right? Murder in the dictionary. An unlawful, premeditated killing of one human being by another. Okay. Murder means a very difficult or unpleasant task or experience. Also means to kill someone unlawfully and with premeditation. It means also punish severely or to be angry with. Also means conclusively defeat an opponent in a game or sport. Also means murder means spoil by lack of skill or knowledge. Whoa. So you mean to tell me that the knowledge, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, was a part of him being a murderer? Yes. So you mean to tell me that the Most High created us without the understanding of evil? Yes. Look at children. Children don't care if you black, brown, blue, purple, green, orange, yellow, pink. They will love you. They'll love you. But it wasn't until the knowledge of good and evil until you start picking sides. Until you start, I'm going to be amongst these people. I'm going to be amongst this kind of people. I'm going to do this kind of thing. And therefore, because murder means spoil by lack of skill or knowledge, look what it says, spoil by lack of skill. Spoil means to diminish or destroy the value and quality of. So he would destroy you by the lack of skill or knowledge. Hosea 4 and 6, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. So Satan would deprive you of righteous knowledge and say, go to school, get an education, get a trade, get a skill, become a lawyer, a doctor, do things that are going to get you money. And so you jump from 18 all the way to 35, spending your entire life going to school, and you have the lack of knowledge to get into the kingdom. And by then, life sucks because you could get sick, you could get hurt, you have no family, you have no children, you have no memories, you have nothing. So Satan was a murderer of what could have been everyone's peace. He murdered happiness. Think about that. This is what Christ was saying. Notice. So you mean to tell me, and look at the children of the devil. They murder happiness when they're around. They murder peace. Nothing can be peaceful when they're around. It's always about a problem. It's always how they don't like something. They're depriving happiness because truth set me free. Why do I need to worry about these things? I pray to it and leave it. All right. But Christ said what? And abode not in the truth because there is no truth in him. So that means Satan could never be free. He'd never be free. And when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. So I want you to understand this, right? How slick is this? You got to be a pretty strong presence, and you got to be pretty good at lying if you're called the father of it. Think about this. The father, the father of lying, which means liars they're so good at it. You know, there's I'll say the hypothetical liar, the hypocritical liar, all these kind of liars, right? They're so good at it because their father is the greatest. He's going to teach them to uphold his ways. And because I tell you the truth, ye believe me not. Verse 46, which of you convinceth me of sin? And I say the truth. Why do you not believe me? So Christ said, which of you can convince me to sin? It would never happen. Verse 47, he that is of God heareth God's words. He therefore heareth them not, excuse me, he that is of God heareth God's words. Ye therefore hear them not, because ye are not of God. And that was the deepest right there. That was the deepest scripture. And you sit there and say, Christ was hated for this very reason, because he would tell people things just like this. And I want you to understand what this word heareth means, right? Because just today's world, we would think that it means just to listen. But no, that's not what it means. It means to understand. It means to understand. So to understand what you're doing, to understand if you were doing right or wrong. And then if you understand that you're doing wrong, go and ask the Most High in prayer how to help you overcome that wrong. But once again, pride destroyeth those who are of their father, the devil, because they will never feel sad. They will never ask for repentance. And if they do, it's not real repentance. It's always repentance for self. Galatians chapter 1. Galatians chapter 1, verse 10. And I read, for do I now persuade men or God? For do I seek to please men? For if I yet please men, I should not be the servant of Christ. And I wanted to include this to show you that there's only two types of people. There's only two types of people that we're going to be. We're either to seek to please men, or we seek to please the Most High. And, and this is sad because I've seen this even in the truth. I uh, I love these people, because the Most High said we gotta love them and have mercy upon them. But at the same time, these individuals irk my nerves when they say things like, "Well, I'm gonna go and follow God on my own." Well, because my spirit's just not right with what you're saying, or it's just not proper how I feel. And I want you to understand this. One, no one has their own spirit. It's true. There's two spirits. There's a spirit of truth and there's a spirit of error. No one is like, all special to get their own spirit. What's inside of us is a soul. Everyone has an individual soul, but not everyone has an individual spirit. The Spirit connects brothers and sisters together in unity of Christ. This is why it says, when one or more or two or more are together, Christ is in the midst, which means the Holy Spirit is also witnessing. There is no individuality. No one has different spirits. There's a spirit of truth, which is a spirit of the Holy Spirit, or there's a spirit of error, which is of the devil. So you're either going to seek to please men, or you're going to seek to please the Most High. Do you notice everything that the children of the devil do? They seek to please men. They're looking for people to look at them a certain way. Vanity, again, brothers and sisters. Sowing on the outside while the inside is rotten. Okay? With Christ and the Most High and the Holy Spirit, we sow on the inside so things can blossom to the outside. Take, for example, have you ever noticed people who please men are impatient? They want it now. But do you understand that if Christ said, the sower soweth the seed, if Most High said you reap what you sow, do you understand all things work in patience? Which means, are you going to plant a seed in a patch of soil and it grow tomorrow? No. That means even if someone in unrighteousness has sowed something, are you going to see it completely tomorrow or the next day? No. Oh, it's going to grow and it's going to come out and it will be manifested. It will be shown. Therefore, what? The unrighteous, those in the flesh, those in carnally minded, want it now. But think of it this way as well, right? Let's go to the flesh again, children of the devil. You notice how so many people, like let's say women, right? You know, and the same is for men, but less because women in at least Babylon are more sexualized, unfortunately. It's just what it is, right? So from almost, let's say, 20 years ago, maybe, you know, it started getting worse and worse and worse, right? And so, do you notice that a lot of females since like 20 years ago, they've been starting to dress more for men, to please men, to look for a man? And so, have you noticed that because Satan is in so much hostility with women, he gave them everything that a woman was not supposed to do? What a wonderful way to tear down your enemy. Hype them up in unrighteousness. Then when Christ is ready to come, you have to go back and tell them that they're in error. They'll never listen to you. What do you mean God is against makeup? If he made it, why can't I use it? Right? This is an example. Right? God made this. Why would he make it if he didn't want me to have it? What do you mean? I have to submit. I have a degree. What do you mean I gotta listen to man? I don't need a man. I'm strong. And so they go and seek and please themselves, which is and themselves, which is pleasing them, men, which is pleasing the flesh. And when I say men, women fall under that too. They please men, they please women, same difference. Okay, they pleasing themselves. And so, hey, this takes time. Pleasing the Most High is not an overnight thing. We are all what seeds to the Most High's earth. We are all salt. We are all light. So it takes time. It takes time. That butterfly takes time to blossom. You just don't get there. A lot of people read the Bible and be like, oh, I want to be like that, and start praying for the Most High to make them like that. And the minute they get in trials and tribulations, they say, oh my goodness, Most High, why you do this? Most High said, well, you asked me to be like someone. You asked me to be like Esther. You asked me to be like Daniel, but when I gave you the trials of Daniel, you started cowering. That's the children of the devil, because they, they want to please themselves. And I'm showing you this even amongst believers, right? They want to please themselves and look as if they're someone. So he's sitting there telling me, you prayed to be like Samson. You prayed to be like Abraham. You prayed to be like Sarah, but you can't go through the trials like them. So what are you praying for? The Most High saying, what are you praying for? You can't go through trials. You're always crying. You're always leaving every time something bad occurs. You're always getting weak. You're always getting emotional. But you asked me to be strong. You told me you want to be like Job. So I took everything away just to see how strong you can be and how faithful you would be. Would you be a faithful servant? Why are you crying? I heard your prayers and I allowed you to go through things so that you can receive a crown in the kingdom of heaven, and you wanted to cower out. Oh, wait, you wanted to do it because you wanted other people to look at you like that, but you didn't truly want it, though. That's also another way to break people. And especially when we're coming into this wilderness soon, this is how you're going to find people getting broken. Oh, I prayed to the Most High to be like, Andrew, or to be like Peter. When the time comes, uh, they denied Christ 3 times. Don't play with them. Don't play with the Most High. So the foundation really got to be set on who are you pleasing, and pleasing in the proper way. Are you pleasing men? And men are pleasing flesh? Are you pleasing the carnal mind? Are you pleasing yourself? Or are you pleasing the Most High? How are you doing it? How are you contributing to the Most High? How are you contributing to His will? Are you even doing His will? Children of the devil could care less. They're going to sit there and lie. All right. It's a good question, brothers and sisters. Good question. Seeking to please men, or you seeking to please someone better? You can even ask people who are out of the truth this. What is your life consisted of? Are you tired of seeking to please others? Are you ready to please someone who who loves you for your efforts, rather than, you know, being yelled at in a relationship and then crying, going to sleep crying, or in a fight and then trying to figure out how you can please that person and calm their anger down the next day? Or are you looking to please someone who loves you for your efforts? Are you looking to please someone who loves you, who doesn't beat you, but explains to you and shows you the love of Christ? Right? Oh man. Wow. Isaiah 59. Isaiah 59, verse 1 through 8 says, Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. But your iniquities have separated between you and your God, and your sins have hid his face from you, that you will not hear. For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies, your tongues have muttered perverseness. Neither calleth for justice, nor any pleadeth for truth. They trust in vanity and speak in lies. They conceive mischief and bring forth iniquity. They have cockatrice eggs and weave the spider's web. They eateth of their eggs. He that eateth of their eggs dieth, and he which is crushed breaketh out into a viper. Their webs shall not become garments, neither shall they cover themselves with their works. Their works are works of iniquity. The act of violence is in their hands. Their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity. Wasting and destruction are in their path. The way of peace they know not, and there is no judgment in their goings. They have made them crooked paths. Whosoever goeth therein shall not know peace. And this was a big one because this really is saying how the children of the devil, there is no peace. Their thoughts are bad. They're looking to run to evil. And how would this be in today's world? You don't have to run to evil. You have a phone. You have social media. Hey, you calling up, what up? Hey, what's up, man? I heard such and such happening. That's called running to evil. You running to look to see what person's problem is so y'all could talk about it. Females do the same thing. Hey girl, I heard such and such happening and I just want to know. It's been made a common thing in the country of Babylon and possibly the world, but it's a common thing in Babylon. You talk about another person's problem. That's running to evil. Okay, let me start up. So in the beginning, verse 1 and 2, the Most High was showing his mercy. He said, My hand is not shortened that I can't save you. My ear is not too heavy that it can't hear you, but every time you sin, you separate us It says, but your iniquities have separated between you and your God. So that means, brothers and sisters, every time you sin, you distance yourself from the Most High. So when we see in the New Testament, when it says, draw nigh unto the Lord and he shall draw nigh to you, that means make steps in righteousness and you will get closer to the Most High. The more you sin, the more you are turning in the opposite direction from the Most High. Hmm. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Says your hands, the hands are defiled with blood, that's fighting, that's killing, the fingers of iniquity, that's bearing false witness, pointing at others, lips speaking lies and deceit, trying to use people's names and things that people don't know about, or maybe bearing false witness or lying on someone to get an advantage, muttering perverseness, things that you shouldn't even be referring to, not calling for justice. That means turning a blind eye. If you know something is wrong and someone is going something and you could have avoided it and you sit there and let them fall, you're going to pay for that. Not pleading for the truth, trusting in vanity, anything that's on the outside, conceiving mischief, which means plotting and planning, because we know conceive means to have a plan when a child is conceived in a woman, right? They're being structured. Her body's being structured for those 9 months, right? To give birth. That meaning to plan out evil and bring forth the sin. It says here, they hatch cockatrice eggs and weave the spider's web. He that eateth of their eggs dieth, and that which is crushed breaketh out into a viper. It's telling you that these women and these people, okay, men as well, if they're not in righteousness, they hatch cockatrice eggs, which means their children are evil, and weave spiders' webs. That means the women, okay, the parents weave spiders' webs for their children to get out of, to break away from them. So that means it makes the parents make spider webs to entrap their children so they cannot be free, i.e., they use their children. He that eateth of their eggs, meaning the parents that devour their children and set traps for them, and that which is crushed breaketh out into a viper, meaning if they do those things, those evil parents do those things to the children will break out and become even worse. They will become a viper. They will hate their parents. And what they will do is what? They will treat, and what we see today, the women and the men are creating children, and then something happens between the woman gets the child, she kicks out the man, she's beating on the son and saying, oh, I hate you, you remind me of your father, and you men ain't nothing, yada yada yada. And then what happens? That son is being and that daughter, they're learning that men are trash from that woman, not from her own actions. She's not teaching them the mistakes she made. She's just saying men ain't good for nothing. So what's going to happen? The woman, the daughter that she's raising is going to become even worse than her. And then the son that she's raising is going to say, well, since I grew up with a sister and mother who hate men, I'm just going to dog them anyway, since they don't like me anyway. Right? See this? And And I don't know if anyone heard this. You want to know what's the worst thing? They said, what's worse than a father that's not there? What, or what they say, a deadbeat father. What's worse than a deadbeat father? A walking dead mother. A mother who doesn't teach her children. Because you scream, oh, I want my children, I want my children, I want my children, I want child support, I want child support, I want this, I want this, I want this. But you don't teach your children nothing. Your children don't know how to fight in the world. They don't know how to fight with Christ. They don't know how to fight for Christ. And when I say fight with Christ, I mean have the spiritual armor to fight the battles and endure with him as a good soldier. They don't know nothing. They just know, boy, you better get that money because ain't no girl going to take you if you broke. Right? Or when you get 18, you better get out of my house because you're a grown man. Right? That's all they know. So then they turn into vipers. They turn out resenting their parents. That's a big thing in Israel. Because if you look at it, look at the Edomite families. They're not kicking out their children. They let them finish school. They let them get a job in their home. They let them save up and get a car. They let them pay off their car note till they get in there. And then they say, are you ready? Okay, I'll give you a couple $1,000 to get yourself together and then you can go. The children of Israel, boy, forget it. It's all about me, 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 me. And then the parents try and benefit off of their children using Social Security, using their names, using benefit. When do you see Edomites do this? It's rare. This is why the Most High said his people love to do wickedness. Love to do wickedness. I mean, and look, the Edomites and other nations, their parents are setting up trust funds for their kids. The Most High says the children of Israel are setting up spider webs for theirs. So they can't leave, so they can't do better. What a waste. What a waste. But these are children of the devil. Only care about themselves. Only want to do evil. Thoughts are evil. Everything is evil. Romans chapter 3. Romans chapter 3, starting from verse 9 to 20. And I read, what then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise. For we have before proved both Jews and Gentiles that they are all under sin. As it is written, there is none righteous, not one. No, not one. And this is taken so much out of context. Good grief. If brothers and sisters just read, this is not saying that there isn't a righteous person, because if there wasn't a righteous person, no one would get into heaven. This is saying that there isn't one preferable nation that is righteous over the other. That's why it's saying Jews and Gentiles are all under sin. Read the scriptures. This does not say that a person cannot be righteous. Let's keep reading. There is none that understandeth. There is none that seeketh after God. They are all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that doeth good. No, not one. This is talking about an entire nation of people. Because if an entire nation was righteous, the Most High would have said it. This is why in verse 9 it says, what then? Are we better than they? No wise, for we have before proved both Jews, meaning both Israel and Gentiles, that's all Gentiles, they are all under sin. That means we're always going to make mistakes, but it does not mean that we cannot be righteous. Because last time I thought you cannot have the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, without being righteous, right? You can't get into the kingdom without being baptized, right? And receiving the Holy Spirit, right? So how is everyone not righteous? It's referring to nations as a whole. So stop thinking that, oh, just because a Gadite is there and they're Israel, they're righteous, or Judah is there, just they're righteous. Uh, no, that's the dumbest thing you could ever think. Or just because, oh, there's a good Edomite over there, he may be right. No, no, that's not the case. Verse 13, it says, their throat is an open sculpture. With their tongues, they have used deceit. The poison of asp is under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursings and bitterness. And it's so funny amongst the Israelite community. The Most High says, poison is under their lips. And what is that poison and deceit? Cursing and bitterness. How many Israelites who claim to be in the truth can't stop cussing? F this, D this, B that. What is this? So it's like they took this scripture and said, oh, since there's not one of us that's righteous, I might as well curse. It says, verse 15, their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in their ways. That means they seek to destroy. They seek to bring misery. If you're amongst a person and all they can do is talk about trouble, they're bringing misery, because that's not peace. Christ said he's bringing what? Those who are in the spirit bring life and peace. Bring peace to me. Don't bring me misery. And the way of peace they have not known. And the way of peace they have not known. Why? Because there is no fear of God before their eyes. Now we know that what things soever the law saith, it saith to them who are under the law. Okay, for those people who are stuck on the law, that every mouth may be stopped and all the world may become guilty before God. That's right. That means we will be all held accountable under the Most High's law. And who was the end of the law? Christ was the end of the law. And when we are judged, the world will stop, every knee shall bow, and everyone will be ready to be judged under the Most High. This is what this is referring to. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. For example, so many people, oh, follow the law, the law, the law. For example, if you didn't read the book of Leviticus, you would never knew about bestiality. You would have never knew about uh, men putting on other women's clothes. You would have never knew about men marrying the daughter and then going to and then leaving the daughter and then going to marry a mother. You never knew that. And then because we have to know about the law, then people get curious. That's why it says, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. That means, okay, you know about every sin. I don't commit all those sins, so I can walk in the spirit. I don't need to know about that. I don't want to know about all the sin out there. I want to know how to get to the kingdom. Because there's two types of people. And really, brothers and sisters, if you're in the law, you already know you're in the flesh. It says the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh, is because the law is attached to the flesh. So the children of the devil, even, and you see Christ was saying of their father, the devil, he was talking to people who claim to be following the Most High. So this is the children of the devil is just not people who don't follow the Most High and who take pride in their ignorance, but it's also people who distort and change and deceive in the word of the Most High. Those are children of the devil as well. Okay. And this last piece, brothers and sisters, couldn't be more serious because it says, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. You wouldn't know about gene splicing, was it for the Nephilim? You wouldn't know about of the giants and evil spirits sleeping with women if it wasn't for sin, the knowledge of it. Right? Come on. Right? Come on. We gotta be smarter. So how do people what does it say? All as it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. It's talking about nations because people are learning the knowledge of sin. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. Instead of us focusing on so much evil, why can't we focus on how to walk the straight and narrow? Why can't people focus on how to you know feed or how to convince people to come to the Most High or how to clothe people? How come? It's because people are focused on the easy things, the deeds of the law, because the deeds of the law come with flesh. So you can sit there, watch this, brothers and sisters. You can sit there and say, oh, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. And it's all because of the law. But when you have to walk in the spirit alone, maybe at your job or maybe doing something that the Most High has called you to do personally, you can't do it because it needs to be seen. And that scripture comes what? The children of the devil always do things for the glory of another person to please men. They need to see people see them do it. That's the deeds of the law. But watch this. When you walk in the spirit, there's only three that bear witness: Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So that means you can go out tomorrow and do something good and not a person else will see you, and you don't need to say a word to them because the heavens bear witness. Moving forward, First Timothy, First Timothy chapter 4, verse 1 says, now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the later times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm not gonna get all into this because you already know the gist. Why did I mention this when it comes to those who are of their father? Pay attention because these individuals, and it gives you a hint, look at what the Holy Spirit is saying. And these first few things, these first two scriptures, in fact, I mean, this whole thing, but these first two scriptures, the Holy Spirit is talking about those scribes and Pharisees. She's saying, some shall depart from faith. So those who have no faith. That means they were putting forth an effort, but then when the tough came, they gave up. Guess what? They're of their father. I'm sorry. Because why? They're of their father. Listen to me. Because why? The Most High is in charge. Satan was under the Most High. When the Most High said something, Satan didn't like it, he left. He departed. If you are easily offended, you are your father. That's it. I'm sorry. There's things in this walk that we all don't like. Get over it. You think Christ liked having to know that he had to die for people who's going to spit in his face? No. No one likes being abused. No one likes being hurt. But there's just some things we don't like. Get over it. Christ was sitting on the right hand of the Most High. He didn't have to do anything. He's like, I don't have to prove nothing. Get over it. Simple. So he departed because he didn't like what the Most High order was, giving heed to seducing spirits. So those angels gave heed to Satan. Notice this, right? So, and I'm showing you the correlation from the very beginning of Genesis to now. Satan had to convince the other angels to fall with him. They gave heed to Satan. So now they're playing the same game. Are you going to give heed to those spirits, the same spirit that was behind Satan to bring down the other angels? That's what the children of the devil do. They will come around to what? Deceive, to bring in seducing spirits and doctrines of the devil. Yes, this one, understand this. Doctrines, this is going to offend a lot of people out there. Most ministers, most pastors, most elders, bishops, most of their doctrines are from the devil. I'm sorry. Because how can you be in a church and not know how to get to the kingdom? Oh, you can tell me about tithing. You can tell me about your Bible study or an academy, but you can't tell me one scripture about how to stay on the narrow and the straight. Isn't there a problem there? That's a problem. You can't tell me that Christ said that we have to give up family and friends and homes and places for this journey, but you can quote, the lineage of the Bible. That's a problem. That's a doctrine of the devil. The devil is the one who told you, feel superior, because Satan was like, what? You want me to worship this? I'm greater than he is. That's what Satan said about Adam and Eve. You want me, God, to worship those in your image? So I want you to think about this. That you got to understand how much hatred Satan had for the Most High. If man was created in the Most High's image, and Satan didn't like creating what was in his image, he hated God himself. Think about that. He hated the Almighty himself. So these are doctrines of devils that's going to take you from the importance of the Most High. The importance is to be in His presence. The importance is to get into the kingdom. The importance is to try and get others to get into the kingdom. The importance is telling the truth so that people can be set free, not by lying to them, not by devising, plans to get money through academies and Bible studies and PDFs and different books. These are doctrines of the devil. Because all that reading, and now there ain't no churches. Now these people are lost. Simple. It says, speaking lies in hypocrisies. So that means they're lying while being a hypocrite of the scriptures. That means they're not living what they're preaching. Having their conscience seared, which means they don't even have a conscience to say, well, if I do this, I'll be a hypocrite. If I do this, I'll be in error with the Most High. They don't care. And these are children of the devil. Now, also, the doctrines of the devil are taught from children of the devil, but also those who receive and enjoy the doctrines of the devil also spread the doctrine of the devil as well to others. Think about that. Think about that. All right. 2 Timothy chapter 4. Second Timothy chapter 4, verse 3. Verse 3 to 5. It says, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lusts, which means desire, shall they heap to themselves teachers, having itching ears. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables. But watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. So what does this mean? This was actually also an encouragement for ministers such as myself, other brothers out there who's doing the work of the Most High, understanding that we would never have many followers because of those who teach the doctrines of devils, because of those who teach people what they want to hear: nationality, genealogy, self-worth of themselves, pride. Yes, everyone has self-worth, but you are a part of a body. It's called the body of Christ, which is supposed to be a church. But because no one wants to do actions, they go to teachers who don't give sound doctrine. Christ sent out the apostles 2 and 2 together everywhere they went. That means there's work to be done by both individuals. But because people don't want to work, people don't believe they can work, and people want to do certain things that is not called for themselves, i.e., like females. A lot of females have the issue about teaching. But I mean, you fall on a very slippery slope when it comes to teaching as a woman. You can teach other women, it's perfectly fine if you are knowledgeable. But if you are not knowledgeable, you are setting up a spider web to entrap other sisters to go and burn in hell with you. And what's the point of it? Just imagine that judgment will be hotter than those females who listen to them. But it says they go off for itching ears, things that's curious to them. Itching, right? If something's itching, it's like curious. I'm curious to know about what nationality I am. I'm curious to know, you know, how we're gonna be gathered. I'm curious to know about UFOs and I'm curious to know about Edomites and Gentiles. It says, notice what it says. They shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. Fable, as you can see, it means to speak, a story, telling a fictitious tale, fabricate or invent, okay, a false statement, a myth, a legend, a story, typically a supernatural one, incorporating elements of myth and legend, a short story, typically with animals as character, conveying a moral. So pretty much something that doesn't exist, or things that don't need to be taught. So there's also an idle story, fable, falsehood, a softer term for a lie. You understand it. So instead of believing that Yeshua Christ is the truth, let's start teaching about all kinds of things that don't need to be taught. As I said before, stay away from those who can't teach you salvation, because if they can't teach you how to perform or how to perform on the narrow path so that you can endure to get to salvation, which is the kingdom, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time. Jeremiah 5. Jeremiah 5 and 20. Jeremiah 5 and 20 reads, excuse me, it's Jeremiah 5, 20 to 31. It says, declare this in the house of Jacob and publish it in Judah, saying, hear now this, O foolish people, without understanding, which have eyes and see not, which have ears and hear not. Fear ye not me, saith the Lord? Will ye not tremble at my presence, which I have placed the sand for the bound of the sea by a perpetual decree, that it cannot pass it? And though the waves thereof toss themselves, yet can they not prevail. Though they roar, yet can they not pass over it. But this people hath a revolting and rebellious heart. They are revolted and gone. Neither say they in their heart, let us now fear the Lord our God, that giveth rain, both the former and the later, in his season. He reserveth unto us the appointed weeks of the harvest. Your iniquities have turned away these things. Your sins have withholden good things from you. For among my people are found wicked men. They lie wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap, they catch men. As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore they are become great and waxen rich. They are waxen fat, they shine. Yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper. In the right of the needy do they not judge. Shall I not visit for these things, saith the Lord? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this? A wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means, and my people love to have it so. And what will ye do in the end thereof? And so this is saying, the Most High is saying that the children of Israel love to be lied to. They love lies. They don't want to be told the truth. They don't want to be corrected. They don't want to feel uncomfortable. It's all about comfort. Says the Most High even said the men are wicked as well. They lie in wait and set a snares. They set a trap. They catch men. So you have to understand, for you sisters out there, this is referring to you. For among my people they are found wicked. They lie in wait and they set a snares. They set a trap to catch men. Whom are they catching? They're catching women. They're emotional. What kind of women are these? Verse 28. They are waxen fat, they shine, meaning the rich. They deck themselves out with nice clothes. Yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked, meaning in their congregations. They don't care. They let it go. They judge not the cause. Means they don't sit in discernment and pray to the Most High to get answers. It says they judge not the cause of the fatherless. They don't care about the children. They're not setting up children things for the young boys to become men and the young girls to become daughters of the Most High. They're not doing nothing. Yet they prosper. Yet they give them all their tithing. Yet people give $300, $400, $500 tithing, and yet their family is poor. Yet their children aren't learning how to serve the Most High. They're not learning anything. And the right of the needy they do not judge. Most High said, shall I not visit for these things? That's why the Most High said, what? The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means, meaning if it can fit them, to prosper them, they'll do it. Notice what it says in verse 25 once again. The Most High said, your iniquities have turned away these things, and your sins have withholden good things from you. So when you see someone says, why is my life going like this? You bring them to this scripture. You bring them right here and say, how long are you going to turn away from the Most High? How long? How long? Because the more and more you draw to sin, the more and more sin will draw to you if you haven't realized. The Most High said, draw nigh to me, as I said before, and he will draw to you. Most High said what? Look upon all the works of the Most High, two and two. One is set against the other, flesh against the spirit. So sin against the godly against the sinner, life versus death. So what? what you reap is what you, or excuse me, what you sow is what you shall reap. If you're going to sow to sin, you're going to reap things of the devil. Simple, simple. All right. Going to Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44, verse 18. Isaiah 44 and 18 reads, "They have not known nor understood, for he has shut their eyes that they cannot see, and their hearts that they cannot understand." This is the Most High saying, because, hey, you want to play around with the Most High, He's going to close all understanding to these individuals. And brothers and sisters, for us in the truth, these are those you ever just reaching out to a family member, a father, a brother, sister, mother, whomever, and you're in the truth and you're trying to reach them and they can't, Most High shut it down. Simple. Stop beating a horse. You fail to realize you beating a dead horse when Christ called the sheep. Ain't no horses among sheep, right? Christ called the sheep, not horses. So you sitting up there beating a dead horse. I ain't seen no horses in the scriptures that Christ is coming for. He's coming for the sheep. You ain't gotta beat sheep to listen to you. You just gotta maybe poke them a little bit with the staff and they'll go right along, right? You ain't gotta beat a sheep, do you? When you seen a shepherd beating a sheep? I ain't seen, right? Romans, or excuse me, Jeremiah. Excuse me, Jeremiah 4 and 22. It reads, "For my people is foolish. They have not known me. They are sottish, children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge." And this is a really frightening thing, right? Because why is it that when you first grow up, or maybe like when everyone's kids and you learn a foreign language, everyone wants to learn the bad words? Anyone notice that? It's because people are wise to do evil. Tell them to do something good. Um, uh, they don't know. And for your FYI, sottish means foolish. It means fool. As I said, my people are fools. They're foolish. They're silly people. Okay, everything is a joke. See, sottish means to be foolish. Foolishness. You'll be sitting there talking about something about, with seriousness, and they'll be trying to make a joke of it. No, life ain't a joke. There's people dying. There's a man called Satan who's looking to devour at every opportunity. I'm serious. Stop making a joke of this. All right? Romans chapter 11. Romans chapter 11, verse 8 through 9. And I read, "According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that should not see, and ears that should not hear, unto this day. And David saith, Let their table be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Now, I'll even throw in verse 10, Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. I want you to understand, if you're trying to beat a dead horse, that's just exactly what it is. They're dead. They have been given a table that's been made a snare. That means they have been given comfort that's been made as a snare, and a trap. That comfort is their stumbling block, and it is a recompense unto them for what they've always wanted. So, since they've never desired the Most High, their eyes are darkened, so they will never see, and their back is so far twisted that they will never understand the Most High. Therefore, brothers and sisters, that is called when God Almighty has given them the spirit of slumber. And I'm going to say this again. God Almighty, the Alpha and Omega, has given them this. That means I don't care if you lined up 30 ministers to this one person, they're never going to get it. Now, let's sit there and tell you, there's some people who sit there and tell you that you can bring people into the truth. That let God's word be true and every man a liar. If God has given an individual the spirit of slumber, i.e., if you talking about waking someone up for more than 2 years, let it go. Let it go. They're finished. There's nothing you can do. There's only something that the Most High can do. And when I'm going to tell you this, if He gave them the spirit of slumber, what do you think is coming for them? Let's read Isaiah 29, 9 through 14. Isaiah 29, 9 through 14. And I read, Stay yourselves and wander. Cry ye out and cry. They are drunken, but not with wine. They stagger, but not with strong drink. For the Lord, once again, for the Lord, once again, for the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, the spirit of deep sleep, and hath closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers and the seers hath he covered. So this also means there's ministers and preachers and pastors and elders who even believe that they have the truth. And yes, their eyes are closed as well. And you want to know an example of a minister or an elder whose eyes are closed? They never preach about getting into the kingdom. They don't preach about Christ and his parables and what the true essence and power of a parable means to every single person's life. They can't understand. Verse 11. And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. So that means the words of the Most High, when you go and bring this Bible to someone, they can sit there and read it 20 times and still not understand it until they deliver it to a man of the Most High. And it says, verse 12, and the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, and I pray thee. And he said, I am not learned. Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Meaning, you'll listen to a man's commandments before you listen to the Most High. And I'm going to sit there and tell you this, right? Everyone has a minister or a pastor, elder who's a man. That's true. So what's the difference between the precept of men and the precept of the Most High? Precept is a command. All right. So if the command or if the commands of that man are written in the Bible, those are precepts of the Most High. Now, once you start seeing there's a compromise of the scriptures, but the elder or the minister or pastor or whoever is using them, that's a compromise, which is it becomes a precept of men. You don't have to compromise with the precepts of Christ. Christ is clear. Give this up, give that up. Do this, do that. Christ is clear. And there's no favor over another person. Everyone will do, or you gotta go. Simple. Verse 14, therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. So this is going to be, think about this, right? When all these things go down, every ounce of so-called knowledge that they've ever gotten will suddenly vanish because it was of no value with Christ. That's scary. That's scary. So go ahead and see the children of the devil, they love to have it so where no one is holding them in contempt no one is holding them responsible for being in contempt with the Most High's words, with the Most High standard. I don't like people like that. If I'm doing wrong, love me enough to tell me I'm doing wrong. Don't let me sit there and dive in fire. Tell me I'm incorrect by the word of the Most High. Second Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 7 through 12. For yourselves know how ye ought to follow us. For yourselves know how ye ought to follow us. For we have behaved not ourselves disorderly among you. Neither did we eat any man's bread for naught, but wrought with labor and travail night and day, that we might not be chargeable to any of you, not because we have not power, but to make ourselves an example unto you to follow us. For even when we were with you, this we commanded, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. Now understand what kind of work this is, brothers and sisters. This is spiritual work. So the apostle said, if you're not going to contribute to this church, You're not going to eat in these church meals. That's what we're saying. You're not going to contribute to getting the word of Christ out. Why should you eat with me? I need to know that you contributing to this body. That's what it was about. Because then what happens? Then you just have people just coming around for meals. Now, unless they're a sinner and you're trying to bring them in and show them the body of Christ righteously, those people can eat with you without giving to the work. But if someone who calls themselves a member of the body, well, they need to be contributing to the work of Christ. They need to be contributing with their talents, with their salt. They need to be contributing. We notice that what? Children of the devil do what? They contribute for self. So unless it's going to get them exposed, unless it's going to get them some recognition, they're not going to do nothing. Not realizing that even the pinky toe is important to the foot, yet you barely look at it. You only look at your big toe, right? Verse 11, for we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. Now them that are such we command and exhort by our Lord Yeshua Christ, that with quietness they work and eat their own bread. So all those who are busybodies and going from one person to another, talking about, hey, what you did, yo, or hey, girl, what you going, and going back and forth, and the people say, eat alone, and work alone. Simple. You know, the children of the devil, they like to have it that way. I told you, isolation is of the devil. Isolation is of the devil. All right. And Peter, Second Peter chapter 2. Second Peter chapter 2, verse 1 through 22 reads, but there were false prophets among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that bought them, and bring up themselves swift destruction. So privily, let's check this out. So look at this word privily. It means secretly. So secretly, they're going to teach. So they're gonna bring in the scriptures, but they're going to implement things secretly that have nothing to do with the Most High. Okay. Verse 2 reads, many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. So you're telling me that they're going to teach them so much that when they start to hear truth, then these individuals are going to start to speak evil of the truth. Boy, what a world. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you. And I don't understand. I don't understand as so simple as the scripture is. Why don't people see that whenever your church is making products and merchandise and things like that and selling it, this is them. If they got magazines, this is them. If they got um uh uh if they got mugs and shirts and selling them. This is them. Oh my, why can't people see? This is making money of you. This is the same thing Christ was talking about when he flipped the money changers over. Same thing. All right. It says, whose judgment now for a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment, and spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly, and turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly, and deliver just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelling among them, and seeing and hearing, vex his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. The Lord, the Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations, and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment, to be punished. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh and the lust of uncleanness, and despise government. By the way, that's the government of Christ. Okay, this is referring to the government of Christ. Please, I, it's a shame I have to even say this, but look, it says supreme in authority. Who is that? That is God and Lord. Lord is known and master as Christ. That is the government of Christ, meaning his body, meaning if you don't like a minister or whomever is preaching, you have an issue, right? Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities. Notice what the Most High just said here. Self-willed. I told you, right? Those who are of the devil are self-ish, self-willed, all about self. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not railing accusation against them before the Lord. But these, as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption, and shall receive their reward of unrighteousness, as they count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are in blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you. And see that? These were individuals who go out 6 days a week and do what they want, curse this, that, and the other. And then on the Sabbath, they come and keep the holy days and keep the Sabbath. And it's terrible. Having eyes full of adultery, and that cannot cease from sin, beguiling unstable souls. See that? Tricking people, okay? And unstable souls, meaning people who are actually trying to get to heaven, but they deceiving them. In heart, they have exercised with covetous practices, cursed children, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Besor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. What that means is the doctrine of Balaam was all about money, by the way. Find that in Revelations, the doctrine of Balaam. but was rebuked for his iniquity, and the dumb ass speaking with man's voice forbade madness of the prophet. And that dumb, is referring to a donkey, by the way. That's in the Old Testament. These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved to forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh. Through much wantonness, those that were those that were clean escape from them who live in error. While they promise them liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage. And that was deep, right? Because it's saying the congregants can be overcome, but then they go right back to the minister who is brought back in bondage. So therefore they recognize, they read the Bible, and then they go right back to the minister, to the elders who put them back in bondage. Sounds like they have no intelligence at all. But hey, itching ears, right? For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior, Yeshua Christ, they are again entangled therein and overcome, and the later end is worse with them than the beginning. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than after they have known it, to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. But it has happened unto them according to the true proverb, the dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow was washed to her wallowing in the mire. And by the way, brothers and sisters, the sow is a pig. Okay, it's a hog, it's a swine. Okay, all right. So these are individuals who like to play along with the Most High. They like the itching ears. They like the false teachers. Hey, they're going to give you a surprise because there's nothing good at the end of these false teachers. They lead to what? Death. Right? Everything that's carnal minded is death. Everything that's spiritual minded is life and peace. All right. 1 John 2 and 15 through 17. And I read a moment. Okay. And I read 1 John 2, 15 through 17. It reads, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, it is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. Going back to that scripture that we said, right? The servant of sin is in the house, right? In the house, and he does not abide forever, but Christ does abide forever, right? Showing you that the servant of sin and the world is the same exact thing. Being in sin, being in the world, you are of the devil, which would mean you're not going to last. You're going to perish, which is death, right? So understand, you want to know how to spot a child of the devil? Those who are content with their flesh. Those are who are content with the desire of their eyes, meaning they want everything. Those are who are content with pride, just being happy in error, being happy with their vanity, those accomplishments of this world. Well, you tell me something. What will your accomplishments mean when the world is ending? What is that degree or that Mercedes that you got for status? What is it going to do when the climate change, by the way, them doing those emissions is cutting gas. It's also cutting water. So which means you won't be able to get gas for your car soon. What's the point of it? All of it's going to rot. We are supposed to what? Invest in things that don't rot. Invest in things that don't obtain and get the moth and corrupt, right? Things that's heavenly. Okay? And to bring us home on the Shabbat, 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1 through 4 says, know this also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. Brothers and sisters, this is how you find them out right here. I've given you all great scriptures today, how to identify the children of the devil, and even ways that we should be able to counter them by living in the Spirit and walking in the Spirit. I pray, brothers and sisters, that this lesson has edified you as we are way far into the last days, and the return of Christ is just around the door. The prophecies are just at the doorknob. I pray that you use this lesson as discernment, as tough decisions are coming. As for many people, it's becoming winter. You know, the social distancing, you know, the families are going to spread apart more and more. The statistics said 3 out of 5, at least in Babylon, the statistics said 3 out of 5 families are not allowing unvaccinated families to come around them for family gatherings and holidays. If you were an individual in those times, you know, celebrating the ways of man, the time to come out of it is now. What have you gained without the Most High? But imagine all the things that you've lost with not being with the Most High. Okay? You've lost something important, brothers and sisters. If you are new to this, you've lost time. Time that you could have built with righteous brothers and sisters. Time that you could have built your relationship with the great I am in Christ and the Holy Spirit. Time is the only thing that we will all regret as to why we didn't have more of. Time. Time to learn. Time to study more. Time to take God serious a lot more instead of waiting until the prophecies started flowing like a waterfall. The time is now. So I pray this gives you encouragement, and I look forward to seeing you all and hearing from you all next Shabbat. With much love, peace and blessings to you all, and may we endure to see another week. Shabbat Shalom.